Season's greetings, geeks, freaks, and all those unique. I'm the merry and bright EmceeFrodis. Since its revival in 2005, the popularity of Doctor Who has grown around the world. One of the hallmarks for years was the yearly Christmas special that started in Series 2, and David Tennant's run as the not quite titular Doctor. The Christmas specials have been replaced by New Year's specials now, but we still have 15 adventures of the Doctor set on December 25th, which raises a couple of questions. What's with the Doctor and Christmas anyway? And why are they often amongst the darkest of stories emotionally? Let's take a look back at all of the times the Doctor has interacted with Christmas. The first time was all the way back in 1965 with the first Doctor in The Feast of Stephen. This was part of the 12-part The Daleks' Master Plan serial. I know very little about this episode because it's one of the purged ones, but in a brief diversion from fighting the Daleks, the Doctor and his companions Sarah and Stephen go back to the 60s where they're arrested. They escape and travel back further in time to a film set where they meet Charlie Chaplin. They also meet a young Bing Crosby before toasting to Christmas. While The Feast of Stephen is presented as a very fun Christmas episode, it's breaking up a long and dark story. Because there's something I haven't mentioned yet. During this serial, the Doctor had a third companion. Katerina died 3 episodes before this one, and Sarah Kingdom also won't live to the end of the serial, dying in the final episode. It's 40 years before Doctor Who would venture into Christmas again. In his 9th incarnation, the Doctor would take Rose Tyler to 1869 London. They had an adventure with Charles Dickens involving a gaseous race called the Gelth, who have taken over the bodies of the dead. Over the course of the adventure, the Doctor mistakenly tries to help the Gelth, and it causes the death of a psychic servant girl named Gwyneth. The Christmas invasion would start the traditional Doctor Who Christmas special. Having just regenerated, the Doctor decides to bring Rose back to London at Christmas. While the Doctor recovers from his regeneration, Rose has to deal with an alien invasion by the Sycorax. Being the introduction to the 10th Doctor, this is one of the more cheerful entries on the list. When we catch up with the Doctor next, it's in The Runaway Bride. In the immediate aftermath of saying goodbye to Rose, the Doctor finds Donna Noble transported into the TARDIS. They go on an adventure to defeat the Queen of Arachnos, and it's only due to Donna's intervention that the Doctor is saved from killing himself to see the Queen dead. The Doctor literally runs into, the spaceship Titanic in Voyage of the Damned. As the ship starts to crash into Earth, the Doctor would only be able to save 3 people on the doomed vessel. Then, after Journey's End, having wiped Donna's memories and realizing he's alone, the Doctor ends up in 1851 in The Next Doctor. A rather light-hearted adventure by Christmas standards, it still leaves the Doctor having to ponder how long he has left in his current incarnation as he runs into someone who claims to be the Doctor. The 10th Doctor's era would come to an end in The End of Times Part 1 and 2, playing as Christmas and New Year's specials. The Doctor knows his demise is coming and fights against it, but when the Master reappears and brings with him Gallifrey, the inevitable happens, and the Doctor sacrifices his life for Wilf Mott, regenerating in tears. The first 2 of the 11th Doctor's Christmas adventures buck the trends of being terribly depressing. The first is an homage to A Christmas Carol, cleverly entitled A Christmas Carol. The Doctor uses the TARDIS to play ghost of past, present, and future, with a miser who can save a ship with Amy and Rory aboard. The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe would be an even better example of Happy Christmas Tale. The Doctor must help a family as a gift he presented to them has taken them to another world, leading to them becoming the captives of wood-like alien creatures. This is not only the first example of everyone lives in a Christmas special, but the Doctor is allowed to have a happy Christmas dinner, seeing the Ponds again for the first time in years, and shedding a tear at being reunited with them once again. But nothing lasts forever. In the following Christmas special, The Snowmen, the Doctor is mourning the deaths of the very people he spent his previous Christmas with, Amy and Rory. The Doctor has become a hermit, avoiding people in his grief. But he's drawn into a battle against the Great Intelligence. This battle would have him find and lose Clara Oswald, at least the one that existed in 1892. In The Time of the Doctor spends 300 years defending a town actually called Christmas from a multitude of attackers. The Doctor knows this will be the location of his last stand, as the planet is Trenzalore, destined to be where the Doctor dies. He admits to Clara that this time, even regeneration cannot help him, as he's used all of his up. It's only through Clara's intervention with the Time Lords that the Doctor is granted another set of regenerations to continue on as the 12th Doctor. Last Christmas would again break the pattern of depressing Christmas episodes, as the Doctor teams up with Santa himself against dream crabs. Only things are not what they seem to be when dealing with dreams, but this episode ends with the Doctor reunited with Clara, and suggests that Santa is real. The Husbands of River song sees the Doctor pulled into an adventure with River against her other husband, King Hydroflax. The Doctor and River are finally able to meet each other on nearly equal ground. But while the ending may say, and they both lived happily ever after, and certainly the Doctor and River have 24 years together, their time will eventually be up, and when that happens, River will end up going to her death in the library. In the return of Dr. Mysterio, following the end of his years with River, the Doctor ends up fighting off an alien invasion on Earth, along with a superhero called the Ghost. This is again a happier outing, playing up on comic book homage. But things would take another dark turn and come full circle, and twice upon a time, the Doctor is fighting against the regeneration he knows is coming. At the same time, the first Doctor is having the same fight against his own regeneration. The pair clash with one another, but through a series of circumstances involving a World War I soldier and strange beings known as the Glass Avatars, both Doctors are able to make peace with their fates. With the Doctor as a time traveler, why does he so often end up at Christmas? My first guess was, maybe the Doctor just likes Christmas. Certainly he often seems happy to have ended up there. When the Doctor is regenerating from 9 to 10, he specifically chose that date as he thinks it will be something nice for Rose to help her deal with his regeneration. However, this is the only time that Christmas was the choice of the Doctor. Every other time he ends up at it, it's because the TARDIS has brought him there. Even if he wanted to travel to Christmas in the Christmas Invasion, we've often seen the Doctor's not in control of where the TARDIS goes. As Idris explains in The Doctor's Wife, the TARDIS takes the Doctor not where he wants to go, but where he needs to go. Does that mean that Christmas is some sort of hub for activity? Possibly. The Doctor speaks about the nature of time in The Impossible Astronaut.
Time isn't a straight line. It's all bumpy, wumpy. There's loads of boring stuff like Sundays and Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons. But now and then there are Saturdays, big temporal tipping points when anything's possible. TARDIS can't resist them like a moth to a flame. She loves at parties.
If there is any time that can be described as a party, it's Christmas. Perhaps there's something about the energy surrounding the holiday season that attracts danger to it. People are closer together, so aliens have an easier time preying upon them. Or maybe it just seems more dangerous than the normal time. The Doctor has plenty of adventures outside of the Christmas season, often with a larger body count. It's just noticeable during Christmas because we don't think of Christmas as being about people dying hard. It was right there, I had to do it. But I think it's more than that. While death and mayhem is nothing new for the Doctor, there is something unique about the darkness that surrounds the Christmas episodes. And that's the Doctor's own headspace. In the 15 Christmas episodes that have aired, 12 of them have closely followed a personal tragedy for the Doctor, or directly involved one. 8 episodes follow one of the Doctor's companions dying, leaving, or becoming estranged from him. The Husbands of River song is a special case, in not only does it immediately follow the Doctor losing both Clara and his memories of her, but the Doctor must grapple with this adventure being the last time he will see River Song. 3 episodes have the Doctor coming to terms with his upcoming regeneration, something which he is unhappy about every time, as he doesn't want to change, and in one case, he thinks he outright can't. This is unique because while it's happened in 3 episodes, it's happened to 4 different versions of the Doctor. I think the secret lay in the Christmas invasion. This is the only episode in which the Doctor specifically chose his destination. It's also an episode without a companion leaving and without the Doctor regenerating, but it's immediately following a regeneration. The Doctor chooses what he thinks will be a comforting place for Rose, and I think the reason he believes that is because Christmas is comforting for the Doctor. For whatever reason, the Doctor likes the holiday season. When we've seen the Doctor experience Christmas, he always seems to be happy with the general atmosphere. We also know the Doctor likes things being cheerful, which is the general vibe around Christmas. So I think there's two possibilities here. The first and more simple explanation is that it's the TARDIS's doing. The TARDIS is psychically connected to the Doctor. Where the Doctor needs to go might not always be where the Doctor's help is needed. It might be where the Doctor can get help. Usually, the Christmas episodes start with the Doctor grieving a companion. But by the end of the experience, the Doctor is feeling somewhat better, or is at least ready to move on to the next adventure. In the times when the Doctor has regenerated, he's always been hesitant, but eventually comes to terms with his fate. I think it's possible the TARDIS uses the Christmas season as a balm for the Doctor during these troubling events. But there's another possibility. There's the double regeneration of Twice Upon a Time. The first Doctor in the memory of the Doctor. Yes, it turns out that there are others, but this is the earliest set of memories the Doctor possesses, came to terms with his first regeneration at Christmas time. Not only that, he experienced this regeneration with another one of himself, one of the more recent incarnations, while the first Doctor doesn't remember the experience until after he experiences it as the 12th Doctor. I think some kind of echo could remain in his mind, an almost cyclical experience that reverberates through the Doctor's timeline in a timey-wimey sensation that is almost indefinable, but is something that draws the Doctor to the holiday. Subconsciously, the Doctor is trying to return to an event he knows that will happen in the future. This could also explain why the 13th Doctor hasn't had her own Christmas adventures, as the loop is now closed and the Doctor can move on. Or maybe the Doctor just likes wearing Christmas hats. A big dork. So comment down below with your theories on why the Doctor has such a liking for Christmas. Also tell me what your favorite Doctor Who Christmas special is. If you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel. I do videos on Doctor Who, Star Trek, Star Wars, Supernatural, and other geeky things. If you'd like to support me, you can go to my Patreon, where you can get early access to videos, participate in polls, and other fun stuff. You can also buy me a coffee. If you'd like stuff to wear, you can find my geeky graphic designs on TeePublic and Redbubble. Today, I am wearing my Bisexual Whovian Pride shirt. Until next time, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, live long, and may the Force be with you.